These aren't the ones who failed afterward. These are the ones who had one perfect moment. The most famous song on this list was thrown out by its own label as a B-side. If you dance to all of them, you know better than anyone what that one moment was worth. Number 15. Carl Douglas, Kung Fu Fighting. They recorded it in 10 minutes. It was the B-side nobody was ever going to hear.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
The producer tacked it on at the end of the session, barely believing in what he was doing. It was filler, something to round out the record and forget about. The A-side was the song that mattered. You feel it, the moment that voice comes in and doesn't ask anyone's permission.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
What you just heard sold more than 10 million copies. The A-side the producer was so keen to protect, nobody remembers it. Do you remember the first time that opening percussion made something in your body move before the rest of you had a say in it? Number 14. Cheryl Lynn, Got to Be Real. She walked into the audition unprepared. They pulled her from the show the very next day. Lynn sang a cappella at the audition for a television talent show. No rehearsal, no backing track. A producer sitting in the audience called her that same night. Before the show had even aired her episode, she was already in the studio recording. Watch for the moment where the voice finds the groove without seeming to try. What nobody knew then was that a voice captured by chance at a TV audition was going to become one of the most sampled grooves in the entire history of disco. The one coming next also arrived after years when nobody was betting anything on him at all. Number 13. Patrick Hernandez, Born to Be Alive. He spent years touring Europe playing bars. Nobody would book him. A manager who heard him in a Paris cafe believed enough to finance the recording out of his own pocket, with no label behind him. Hernandez had spent years with nobody willing to take a chance on him. The song reached number 1 in more than 10 countries. You feel it when that chorus arrives and leaves no room for doubt. What you just heard was financed by a single person acting on instinct. Without that instinct, that song doesn't exist. Years of empty bars and one cafe in Paris. Sometimes the moment arrives exactly like that. Number 12. France Jolie, Come to Me. She was 15 years old. They took her straight from school into the studio. The song reached the top 5 before her school year was over. She recorded with producers twice her age, in a studio she'd never set foot in, with a voice that still didn't know what it was capable of. Listen for the moment in the mix where the voice rises into the bridge with nothing to prepare it for what's coming. What you just heard is a 15-year-old girl reaching a place most of the adults in that industry never got to. Nobody in the studio knew it was going to happen, neither did she. And the one coming next is another story where nobody expected it to work for completely different reasons. Number 11. Dan Hartman, Instant Replay.
10, 9.
He was a session musician. He recorded the song to test an idea, not to have a hit. Hartman made his living writing and playing for other artists. When he decided to record something of his own, he used the session to experiment with a production idea he found interesting. No pressure, no expectations. The song took on a life of its own. You feel it when that bass groove comes in and refuses to let go. What started as a production experiment with no intended audience became the only public identity he would carry for the rest of his life. One idea to try something new, and that was enough to last forever. Number 10. Anita Ward, Ring My Bell. The song wasn't written for her. It was written for a schoolgirl. The producer had written it with a much younger artist in mind, with lyrics about phone calls between teenagers. When that artist turned out to be too young to sign the contract, the producer handed it to Ward, rewrote the lyrics from scratch, and changed the whole meaning. Watch for the moment the synthesizer makes that turn that defines the entire song. What you just heard was never intended for Ward, or for that lyric, or for that context. It was a last-minute fix that ended up becoming the version the world remembers as if it could never have been any other way. The one coming next also reached the world by a path nobody had planned, but from an even more unexpected place. Number 9. A Taste of Honey, Boogie, Oogie, Oogie. They won the Grammy for Best New Artist. The following year, the industry had no idea what to do with them. The Grammy didn't get them a second hit. The industry gave them the trophy and left them to figure out the rest on their own. The solid contract, the built career, the things that should have followed never came. You feel it when that bass line drops and makes everything else irrelevant. What you just heard won the most important award in the industry, and it still wasn't enough for the industry to know what came next. That's how that world worked. And the one coming next made it to the recording studio from a place no Grammy could ever have imagined. Number 8. Andrea True, More, More, More. She recorded it in Jamaica, not because she wanted to, because she had no other way to get her money out of the country. True had earned money working in Jamaica, and the country's currency laws prevented her from taking it home. The only legal way to get it out was to spend it there on local artistic production. She walked into a studio, recorded the song in a single session, and used that trapped money to pay for everything. Listen for the moment in the mix where the bass and the drums fuse together, and you can't separate one from the other. A song born out of a legal restriction ended up being one of the most recognizable disco hits of the entire decade. Without the law that stopped her from taking the money home, that recording never exists. The first time you heard that bass line, did you feel something in your body making a decision before you did? Number 7. Sylvester, You Make Me Feel Mighty Real. The clubs knew it by heart before a single radio station had played it. Sylvester built his following from the ground up, in the nightclubs, among the people who needed that song, before any radio format existed that knew what to do with it. By the time it reached the top 5, it was already an anthem for the people who had been dancing to it for months. You feel it when that synthesizer rises, and there is simply no way for the body not to respond. What you just heard reached radio late, when the audience already knew every word. The format arrived after the song, not before it. Some songs don't wait for the world to be ready. They come out anyway. Number 6. Silver Convention, Fly Robin Fly. The entire lyric has 3 different words. They wrote it in an afternoon to fill out an album. The producer needed one more song to complete the record, and there was no time and no budget for anything elaborate. None of the singers who recorded it were the group's original vocalist. The song won the Grammy for Best Rhythm and Blues Recording. Watch for the moment when those 3 words, repeated over and over, start to sound like they're saying everything. What you just heard was written in an afternoon, with voices that weren't the originals, for a slot nobody thought was important, and it won the most prestigious award in the industry. The one coming next is also a song nobody ever managed to repeat, but for completely different reasons. Number 5. Lips Inc. Funky Town. It was a one-way ticket to the future, and nobody could buy it twice. The song came out right as the 70s were ending, and the 80s hadn't yet found their shape. It had the groove of disco, but the synthesizers of what was coming next. It was the exact bridge between two decades, and that's what made it unbeatable. What nobody could do was repeat it. You feel it when that synthesizer enters and sounds like something that belongs to two worlds at once. What you just heard hit number 1 in 23 countries. The formula that worked so perfectly was never replicated because it depended on a precise moment that had already passed. The one coming next was also built for an unplanned instant in an even more literal way. Number 4. Musique in the Bush. Several radio stations banned it. That was exactly what made it famous. Stations considered the title and the lyrics too suggestive for regular airplay. The ban fired up precisely the curiosity the song needed. People were going into record stores looking for something they couldn't hear on the radio, and that created a demand no marketing campaign could have produced. You feel it when the groove comes in, and you understand why someone felt the need to ban it. The ban was the best launch that song could ever have had, without the stations that said, "No, there's no hit." Sometimes, what closes one door is what opens all the others. Number 3. Evelyn Champagne King. Shame. She was 16 years old, and she cleaned the recording studios where she worked. A producer heard her singing while she was mopping the floor one afternoon and brought her into the studio that same night. There was no audition, no plan, nothing prepared. She was a teenager with a mop and a voice nobody had heard yet. Watch for the moment that voice climbs into the bridge without any apparent fear. What you just heard is a 16-year-old girl going from the cleaning bucket to the studio in a matter of hours. The song reached number 9 on the charts and launched a career that lasted for decades. And the one coming next wasn't even a real group when they recorded their only song. Number 2. Frantique. Strut Your Funky Stuff.
Get up, stand up, strut your funky.
They didn't exist as a band before this song. They didn't exist after it either.
How you gonna be the attraction?
Frantique was assembled in the studio specifically to record this track. They were session musicians, brought in for a project, not a group with a history or a plan for the future. They recorded, finished, and never came back together again. You feel it when that groove comes in sounding like it's coming from a band with years of rehearsals behind them.
Get up, stand up, strut your funky.
One single recording. A group that didn't exist before or after, and yet that song played in every disco club that year. The one coming after this also nearly failed to reach anyone at all.
Action. You got to get out.
Number 1 on this list was thrown out by its own label. It took someone else to rescue it. We're almost there. Number 1. Gloria Gaynor. I Will Survive.
First I was afraid, I was petrified.
They put it on the B-side. Radio didn't want to play it, and yet, here we are. The label believed in another song. This one went on the back. Second choice. The filler nobody was going to look for. It was the DJs in the clubs who put it on, night after night, until the audience started demanding it. The label held out for months before giving in and flipping it to the A-side. Pay attention to where that voice hits the chorus for the very first time.
Now go, walk out the door.
There's the answer to the question we opened with. Every song on this list lived in a moment, nobody guaranteed. This is the one that sums it all up. Thrown aside, ignored by radio, rescued by the people who needed it before the industry even knew it existed, and turned into the anthem that still plays when someone needs something to tell them they're going to be all right. The 70s have more stories like these. We'll keep discovering them together.